I'm gonna be honest with you. There was like 2 or 3 minutes of me staring at this and trying different things to get it to go, but. Welcome back to Freedom One Garage, where we work on old Jeeps, old cars, older pickup trucks, old Broncos, and late model BMWs. Yeah, that's what we're doing today. Yeah, that's what you do when your lifelong friend's daughter's car needs a little attention. So, ain't never touched a BMW before, but we got a 2008 528iX, and it had bad oil leak on the valve cover. I didn't start videoing right away, so I apologized for that in arrears. But to get this off, here's the culprit right here. There's an eccentric electrical valve adjustmentation motor that actually bolts into the top of the valve cover here, and yeah, that gasket wasn't doing a whole lot, and it was just pouring oil down in there and actually filling those cavities up and then running it down the side of the valve cover. So rather than it's had a gasket once, rather than, you know, try to patch it back together with gaskets again, we got a shiny new customer supplied plastic wrapped complete valve cover assembly. Pretty cool. So that's going to make life pretty easy. Got the gasket already installed on it and everything. To get this off, there's a fancy cover. Of course, there's all kinds of plastics pieces, and then you got a little bit of a strut brace there. It's got to come off. More plastic pieces up here. I promise I'll videoize all this stuff going back together, but all that was up in this area. It's got to come out, and then the fancy plastic BMW covers got to come out, and then let's see, we got spark plugs, or I'm sorry, coil packs for the spark plugs. We've got PCV or a breather hose back there for the valve cover, a couple wires, all the connections for the coil packs, and then they say, I've heard anyway, that you're supposed to take the fuel rail out. Yeah, we didn't do that. Number one, I'm lazy. Number two, I like to do things more efficiently. So you can take the little clips off on these guys. There's these little, and you have to be carefuling on them because they're these guys. If you don't lose any, then you can snip them back on there and they'll just push on with the connector, and this whole thing here will snap down together, and all 6 of those will be fine. But you do need a little bit of access because there's a little lip on the valve cover, and the lip's got to get around, you know, this guy. Otherwise, you see, that creates kind of this tunnel, and you can carefully, I took the rags off of here, but you can carefully pull that valve cover out little by little and successfully get it out that way. Now, we could remove this guy and this guy, but this guy goes way down there where it gets really dark, and I don't know what he plugs into. So we managed. We did that. So we're going to replace that. Along with the valve cover, we got a new eccentric timing sensor, monitor, whatever. So that's got to go in. And then there's a little special way to put the electric motor that these two talk to one another, how they, you know, they got to go both back in just right. So it runs. Pretty straightforward. We're going to clean up, and I'll tell you what, guys and gals, the customer, Dad anyway, said there is a, quote, boatload of miles on this car. The car, I mean, looks out really nice. That's silver, you know, just a sharp looking car. When we get her all fixed up, I got her tucked away pretty tight here, but when we get her fixed up, we'll get her out in the sun and do a little walk around, because nice ride, really. Has a lot of miles, apparently. So we do see some of that. We've got some varnish here, but we really don't. This isn't sludge. This is just, you know, years and years of varnish and a lot of miles. So I'm thinking really good maintenance on this little car. All this stuff can get out of the way just enough you can squeeze that valve cover out. But look how wide. I mean, this has got to be 13 inches wide right here, the top of this head, because it's got not one but two cams. Now you have an intake cam, you have an exhaust cam, so that's interesting. And then yeah, this is, I mean, we've got a big block right behind me over here. It ain't near this kind of size going on in the head of that thing. 6-cylinder motor. I don't know the displacement off the top of my noggin, but we're going to keep working on it. Next step is we got to clean up this gasket surface, and there's also little gaskets around here where the spark plug tubes go back down through the, you know, it's part of the valve cover too. So we're going to clean all this up and prepare for our new valve cover assembly. We're going to pop out a spark plug here real quick and just give them a look. Give one a look. Make sure that, you know, we don't need to service spark plugs, because now's the time. What do we got? What do we got? Ooh, not bad. Giving them a read. Looks like it's burning pretty decent. Strap's in good shape. The gap looks to be right on. Yeah, we're all right. It's a good plug. Going back in. Does not need spark plugs. I usually don't do videos on some of the late model stuff we work on and some of the kind of quick jobs. But, you know, when a young lady asks, says, hey, are you going to do any video? I mean, yeah, I mean, okay, you want video? Let's do video. Okay, we got it pretty much cleaned up, and I'll show you, but first, I want to show you guys and gals some nonsense, all right? In my left hand, a, you know, generic, your usual Irish parts store carb cleaner. I buy this stuff by a lots. But you notice down here, 12.5 ounces, right? So I'm wandering around, I don't know, a couple weeks ago, and I got scammed. See how much bigger? See, I bought 3 or 4 cans of this stuff. It was on sale. All right, so yeah, got it home, started using it on the project before this one, and I'm like, wait a minute, I barely got any out of here, and it's almost empty. Well, look real close. 13 ounces, 12.5 ounces. That's nonsense. Valvoline, you guys, you should be ashamed of yourselves. Keep an eye out, folks. It's hitting us everywhere. Grocery store, and now you can't even buy an honest can of carb cleaner. But back to it here. We got her cleaned up. We got around where the plug tubes go down. There's gaskets at each one of those holes, and around the attachment bolts. And then we went around the whole perimeters. So there's a couple pins. There's one here. There's one on the back corner back there. Ouch, that's my head. And then there's one here and there. Before we put the new valve cover on, we've got, this guy came in the kit. It's the eccentric, yeah, I think I said that right. The eccentric timing sensor. It watches, I'll show you, this is kind of strange. It watches this shaft, which kind of adjusts the timing. Yeah, not kind of, it does. So if I do this, see that guy moves a little bit, and that makes small adjustments, or maybe big adjustments to the timing. But anyway, the kit came with a new sensor, and The only way to get to that sensor is to take all this stuff off. So since we're here, light bulb please, we're going to change it. However, you got to get to this bolt way down, that one down there, not this one, the one down there, and then these two, 3 bolts. There's a hole in this timing chain guide here where you can get to that guy at the bottom. However, there's also a hole. This whole thing is a hole that goes all the way down to the bottom of the engine. So we are going to take some precautionaries so that if we lose track of one of these bolts coming out, it doesn't, you know, fall and really make a bad day for us. We're going to stuff a rag here like so, and then I gotta get these ready. I should have staged this. And then we're gonna stuff a rag under here like so. There we go. That's what I'm looking for. There. And we'll make a small adjustment to this guy. Just getting down in there so nothing can fall. There. Now if we take that bolt out, it can't fall down there and it can't fall down here before we can get a magnet on it. So 10 millimeters. We're going to go after the scariest one first. Almost out of the threads. And grab our magnet. And let's go here. Come on, please. I said please. Come on. There. That's the scary one. Oh, see what I mean? See what I'm talking about? And see what I mean? Come here. There, we're good. One more. Only slightly scary on this one. There are 9 pins in the connector on this sensor. 9 of them. I don't know how many gigabytes that equals, but there's some stuff going on in this sucker. There we go. There. Now see, that one kind of stuck in the plastic. So there's the old unit. It doesn't look in horrible shape. It's actually pretty clean. I mean, this thing really got maintained on really well. So, all right, get the new one. New unit. And to get this down in there, we may need to we're gonna have to turn this bottom bolt in just a little bit more so we can manipulate things. Screw the top ones in a little bit too. I was hoping we could just leave these in here. We might have to put them most of the way in, or all the way in. Let's try this. Oh, looky there. That works quite a bit better. I think it's oily. Why would things be oily under the valve cover or anything? Jeez. I'm gonna go down and manipulate this guy. Okay, scariest one is started in quite a bit. I don't like how that feels. I don't like how it feels at all. It's going in there crooked, you guys. That's not cool. Back this one out a little bit. See if we can't get some. There we go. We need a little manipulation from the bottom there. She almost wanted to start crooked on this. That would not have been good. Now everybody's happy. For those of you who are counting, that's probably, let's call that 80 inch-pounds. That's what I'm going with. It's valve cover time. It's alright, I didn't hit record. There weren't very many bad words though. We're just kind of finishing this up. There's no steel in this car. Come on. There. Alternator? Nope, not even that. Son of a biscuit. Here's a bolt. That'll work. Go back. There. Just a little bit. That doesn't look horrible. I think we're pinned. Fits like a glove. Here's that little bit of grease around this sensor. When you push down, you know, there's a little seal in here. So we wanted to lubricate that a little bit. And we're gonna kind of start in the middle on a couple of these captured nut bolts. We're just gonna tighten these down until we feel a little bit of resistance, because remember, we gotta make sure we're on all of those pins, locating dowels. I think we're in good shape, but we certainly don't want to. He's just getting tight. And we're gonna come, we're gonna kind of jump around here and just pull it all down together. Here's where the patience, you gotta have them, yeah, because this one's not very nice. All right, so I went and got them all started, made sure nothing was between the valve cover and the head besides the gasket, which is a good thing. And then, you know, we just started walking them around, and now we're to our final kind of tightening sequence. I already did the hardest ones to get to in the back because, you know, you don't want to just hear me yelling and saying bad words. Now we're just kind of go around and double check everything. I didn't count these. I don't know how many there is total. Now these jobs, these rubber gaskets, they'll compress so far and then they're done. So you'll go like this one. It's tight, it's tight. On. So you reuse the center bolt here, this guy right there, and then you reuse the 2 middle bolts along the bottom edge. Otherwise everything comes with the new valve cover except for those 3. And I don't know why, but that's just the way it is. So now we need to do the metal inserts for the spark plug tubes, and then we'll do the actuator motor for the eccentric timing, and then we can start putting wires back together and tubes back together and finish this up. 2 days later. It was cold yesterday. We're gonna finish up this BMW though. Where we left off, we got new valve cover shimmied in there. We've got her all bolted down. Metal tubes are in the plastic tubes. The last kind of technical bit before we just start plugging things in and putting things back where they came from is to put the Valvetronics, that's what it's called apparently, actuator motor in here. And it's this kind of goofy, just the screw headed motor, and it goes in, and then the screw head engages with that, you know, worm gear. No, this is that the worm? This gear engages this gear, and this will screw in and out, and like I showed you earlier, rotate that extra assembly that adjusts timing. So we'll put this in. What you do is you slide this in. There's a little hole here that you actually manually turn the motor and pull this back into that gear. There's no preset adjustment or setting on it. It'll learn itself once the car gets turned back on. So let's go ahead and throw that in. What you do is put this guy down in here, get him inside of that boot area, and then take your little, this is a it's your 3.5 or 4 millimeter Allen wrench, and you actually turn this guy in. That motor just kind of walks itself down in there. Then we can take our two attachment screws. Side. Yeah, I've got you guys on. As we tighten these two little bolts, we'll make sure that we're checking our motor screw a little bit here and there. Let's make sure it's keeping up. Piece of gravy. And then we've got one more bolt that goes on the bottom bracket for this, and you want to put it in last because otherwise you're going to be pulling, you know, where it's tightened already or something like that. Now you remember those little clips we took off the injector harness. We've got one stayed. We've got our 5 others that we were able to rescue, and now we just have to manipulate those back on. Don't put them on backwards like I just did. Now we'll take our fuel injector harness, and all we have to do is line them all up, and it goes back right back on there. Bootamus. Start putting coil packs back in. Yeah, that looks nice and dry. Sometimes when this timing sensor, cinder, whatever it is, the eccentric timing sensor, anyway, if they go bad, a lot of times they'll leak oil up through the pins. This one's nice and dry, and we went ahead and replaced it anyway, so that's good. We've got one little ground wire there. We've got its twin little ground wire back here. There, and we are all plugged in. Now we got the valve cover, came with a new oil cap. I was going to use the fancy BMW one, but it had a little crack in it around where it twists together. So we went ahead and ditched it, installed the new oil cap that came with the valve cover, and then a little bit of simple green and some compressed air, and cleaned up the plastic cover pretty good. This guy's supposed to be held in with two little cap screws here and two back there. It only had the two front ones when it came in. So tighten that down. We went to the hardware store and got a couple metric cap screws for the back because we don't want it, you know, to flip and flop around and stuff. So we're gonna go ahead and install these guys for them. There, now no more jiggle. Let's finish up reassembly and then get this thing fired up. Technician's note: this car is aluminum, all right? Even the cast strut towers, everything in here is aluminum except for the fasteners, basically. So these bolts for this strut brace, which is also aluminum, bolt into aluminum. So while we zipped them out with the impact, we are not going to zip them back in. We're going to run them in with a ratchet so we don't strip them. Supposed to be a couple little plastic body clips up here. So let's go into our box of tricks. Guys. Ooh, that's the winner right there. All right, let's see if it'll start. Oh, it makes fancy dinger noises. Piece of gravy. We have a little bit of smokiness over here just from leftovers. That should burn off pretty quick, actually. We'll help it a little bit. That's better. All right, we're gonna let it run for a little bit, get up the temp, and check for leaks. This was kind of one of those, hey, there's a box of parts in the back seat and I just haven't gotten to it type things, but it included new struts for the hood, these two things, and you know, we've got our stick over here holding it up, so it only takes a minute. We're going to go ahead and pop these on for them. Now, when you release these, there's this little strap. Come in here with the little screwdriver and just pull up a little bit to pop it off the ball on the other end. Don't pull too hard or that strap will come out or you'll bend it up, but not too bad. In the light. New ones just pop on. I'll have to go up just a bit. There we go. One on. Just that one new one helps hold things up better. We'll put the steak in here just in case. Good to go. Okay, running. We're just gonna let it run. But one of the other parts that was in the extra rock hard auto box, gentleman says, hey, I took it, got it serviced, and they did that multi-point inspection and tell me the rear brake lines, the soft lines at the wheels are, you know, looking a little rough. So he's got the parts, never got around to putting them on. We're gonna take a look at that real quick. We gotta pull it up. Okay, is it safe to jack up on this thing anywhere? Oh, I see it. They give you a little spot right here. I gotta look. Oh, okay. Let's see what he was looking at. Alrighty. Yeah, so, you know, is it the end of the world? Probably not. And again, I can't, there's absolutely, oh, here, that's steel. Here's that soft brake line. It goes, attaches here, and then just comes down here and goes into the caliper. And right here, there's a nick in the sheathing where it's, you know, just from staying that way for a long time. And I'm sure, yeah, but the other side is kind of the same way. So yeah, why not? It's got a little nick right there too. Yeah, let's do it. We can handle this. We'll do one side at a time, and then we'll pop those top. Here's the bleeder up here, so we'll go ahead and replace the line. We'll lose some fluid, and then we'll put the line back on, and hopefully while we're doing this side, the other side will fill back up and gravity bleed mostly, and then we'll come back over, you know, on this side, and it should do the same. No big deal. We'll figure it out. Okay, 14 down here, 11 millimeter up here. Luckily, the guy does have, you know, symmetric stuff. Kind of need it nowadays. Don't use the 11 too much around these parts. There we go. And like I said, down here it just screws right into the caliper. So I'm guessing that's 14 as well. And I did check the part numbers the same on both sides, so better have that guy. So that's good news. It's not like we got to figure out which is left and which is right. There you go. We're just going to spin this guy out of here. Shouldn't be too bad. And then let's take a little bit different end, but the main thing is the threads are the same, and that's the same. And then here we looks like we're about the same. So life is pretty good. There, up here. Okay, bottom side's connected. That should slip over that. Should come up and do some of that. And then this guy should start to thread without too much trouble. Golly, I think it might be going in. Okay, that should be good. It should be golden there. that part was pretty easy. Now we just have to pop this bleeder open. Now you might be asking yourself, Matilda, what does he mean by gravity bleeding the brakes? Well, if the system is full usually, and there's no air in it to start with, you can break it open a lot of times, replace a caliper, replace a soft line, even, you know, a fitting here and there, and then put it back together. And then what you do is you crack the bleeder, and say if it's in the middle of a system, you can crack it here and let it bleed out here a little bit, and then close that off and crack this. And what that's doing is your fluid's coming from the front of the car, and then it's coming through a bunch of hard lines and valves and ABS and whatever else. So the fluid will flow through whatever new part you put on, in this case these two rubber lines in the back, up through the caliper, and it'll push. Use gravity to push whatever air was in this line into the caliper, and then once it's in the caliper, most of the time the bleeder for the caliper is above the inlet hose for the caliper. So that means the air bubbles up, comes up towards the bleeder, and then as that fluid fills the caliper behind it, it pushes the air out right here. The other side's all closed up, wheels on. We've had this open and dripping for 20 minutes now, dripping pretty regular. We've added fluid to the master twice, so we're going to say good on here, and let's give it a drive. Now if we have a real spongy pedal or low pedal, we can always crawl under here and do a, well, come on now, and do a you know, pump hold type brake bleed on this and finish it off. But a lot of times this is all you need to do. Put our little lid back over our bleeder there. Life is good. Now I did kind of, let me bring a light. I did kind of flub up just a little bit, and I knew it. I stared right at it, and then I went ahead and put both cabin filters. I put all this back together just a little while ago, if you rewound it, and underneath this cabin filter is where the master cylinder is. So we did have to disassemble a little bit here, but we've got that filled up. We're going to put this back together. All right, that's all put back together. Wheels are on, torqued. Pretty cool. Could have showed you, but I didn't. These use wheel studs, countersunk bolts that hold the wheels in. A little different than most of our American stuff, but let's jump in here. It's road test time. First we got to see, listen to the bells and whistles. Okay. First we'll just start her up and make sure that we have a decent brake pedal. So you've got in this, oh, it's okay. You gotta, this is the key. So a little bit different than the 76 Ford. And that's your start. Yeah, now here's the other thing. This is how you shift in it. I'm gonna be honest with you, there was like 2 or 3 minutes of me staring at this and trying different things to get it to go. Had to take the shop flannel hoodie off because it's filthy, and this car is the entire opposite of that. But here's how you do this. You gotta, okay, this is one button park, but you gotta push here and bump it back, and it goes to D. So that's all right. Oh yeah, we got brakes galore. No engine lights. 223,000 miles. This car is beautiful for 250,000 miles. Are you kidding me? All right, so we're on our little road test here. I'm telling you what, for 200 and almost 25,000 miles, this is a nice car. It's immaculate inside, pretty quiet, a little noise from the sunroof, but then it has the little you know, cloth door that you can close, and we were going into about a 30-mile-an-hour headwind, so. But otherwise, nice ride. Plenty of power. Everything works. We do have the scanner with us. No check engine lights, that kind of thing. So we're just headed back to the shop now. Gonna park this thing up and text him, let him know his daughter's car is 100% once again. I'm telling you, 223,000 miles. The thing's beautiful. It's got tons of life left in it. Just gorgeous car, rides out nice, and now it's got no oil leaks and safer brake lines in the back and hood struts. The hood stays up now too. That's a bonus. Thanks for watching this one. Kind of off track from what we normally do, but it's a car. It's got an engine and it needs work, so we'll get her done. Catch you on the next video.